Prepare to get gas because it's time for the Week in Gear. Welcome to the show that brings you the most exciting, wallet-draining guitar gear released in the last 7 days. This week, Blackstar takes their legendary pint-sized desktop amplifier and injects a massive dose of high-gain adrenaline. Darkglass Electronics does the unthinkable and steps out of their base comfort zone to unleash a premium digital guitar modeler, and Guild deep dives into the late 70s to revive an aggressive, phase-shifting offset cult classic. Here's the QR code to scan if you want to find all the gear from this episode at one of my retail partners, and as always, clickable links are also in the video description. If you buy stuff from these affiliate links, you will help support the show at no extra cost to you. Please, and most definitely, thank you. This episode is sponsored by Thomann Music Days. More about that in a bit. Now, let's kick off the board with a tiny practice amp that wants you to think that it's a full-blown arena stack. First up is a brand new spin on a desktop practice tool that has probably sat on more coffee tables and workbenches than almost any other mini amp in history. It is also the amp that I use on my workbench. This is the Blackstar Fly 3 High Gain. Yes, Blackstar has gone back to their signature micro platform and hot-rodded the voicing for the heavy riff crowd. Now, the original Fly 3 is pretty famous for being a great casual practice companion, but it's always leaned a bit more towards the classic rock crunch. And this new version is specifically revoiced to handle tight, aggressive, saturated metal tones. It is still the tiny 3-watt box running a single 3-inch speaker, but the internal gain structure has been pushed significantly further. You get 3 channels now. They've added an extra one. So you've still got the clean channel, you've still got the overdrive channel, but now you've got Nitro, the high gain channel. To shape your tone, Blackstar have still included their patented ISF control. They also included their built-in tape delay emulation, so you can add some space and ambient depth to your lead lines. And for late night jammings, it runs a headphone output that includes speaker emulated voicing, so your tone doesn't turn into a fizzy mess in your ears. Plus, there's a line-in jack, so you can plug your phone straight in and play along to your backing tracks. It is worth pointing out there is still no Bluetooth on the Fly 3 models, which you could say shouldn't be expected at this price point, but there are other amps out there from companies such as Nuix and Ortega that do have Bluetooth at this price point. The Blackstar Fly 3 High Gain ain't got it, but it does run on 6 standard AA batteries or a wall adapter. And if you want the wider desktop projection or just pretend you're playing in front of a mini stack, you can still link it to their extension cabinet to transform the rig into a 6-watt stereo setup. Ooh. And that looks pretty hilarious, but having played the original with the extension cab, it is actually no joke. It's pretty good. The AA batteries do make this seem a little old-fashioned compared to amps with the built-in rechargeable battery, but this does mean that you never have to deal with a faulty battery or a worn-out battery, which renders your amp worthless, or worse, dangerous. Do we have the CG budget for that? No generative AI on this channel, please. The Fly 3 High Gain lands at a very accessible price point of around 70 notes. And I'm a big fan of this basic approach to this amp. No menus, no phone app, just plug in and practice. Let's face it, it is a 3-watt plastic box with a 3-inch speaker, so you aren't going to get that chest-thumping low-end response of a 4x12 cabinet. But judge it for what it is, a low-hassle, portable practice tool that goes heavy, and you have something quite enticing. Let's have a listen. Hi Steve, thank you for playing that guitar, you're a gem. The gasometer on the Fly 3 high gain flies right up to a solid buy it now. Links are in the video description. Hydration break! Next up, we have an absolute curveball from a brand that has spent years dominating a completely different side of the stage. Darkglass Electronics has officially stepped entirely out of their bass-only comfort zone to drop their very first dedicated full-bore guitar modeler and multi-effects processor. This is the Darkglass Anagram Guitar Essentials. Now, the Anagram is a completely standalone beast built for guitarists. The chassis is compact, and that is a 7-inch high-resolution color screen, which I think looks gorgeous. There are 6 endless rotary control knobs and 3 heavy-duty foot switches. Under the hood is where the apparent magic happens. They have packed, nay, forced, an ultra-fast proprietary 6-core DSP engine that runs virtual guitar amplifiers, reactive cabinet models, and a premium suite of modulation, drive, and spatial effects. The routing on the back is incredibly deep for a unit of this size. You get full stereo inputs, stereo balanced XLR outs, stereo 1/4 inch outs, a stereo effects loop, and MIDI. And if you're willing to give up the effects loop, you can add an expression pedal. There's also a headphone output, and it also runs an integrated USB-C audio interface, allowing you to record directly into your DAW or manage your patches on a computer. It comes with 12 amps, about 50 customizable effects, and I think 3 are specific to this collection. There's a built-in Luna? That's a moon. A built-in looper, and, get ready, a tuner. That's where I got confused. Like I compacted looper and tuner into one. Yes, it has a tuner and a looper, but no Luna. You can run up to 24 simultaneous effects blocks, and it also allows you to load NAM profiles, which makes this extremely expandable. And I think you can run more than one NAM profile within the same patch, but I will need that to be confirmed. Internet, get to work. The Darkglass Anagram Guitar Essentials also has a marketplace where you can download free and paid plugins by third-party plugin makers, including one of my favorites, Nembrini Audio. This marketplace thing is a whole other conversation that includes, amongst other things, are Darkglass selling an incomplete product, or, on the other hand, are they offering us an opportunity to take more advantage of the gear we've already bought? Yes, I wonder. Or is it something else completely, entirely different? For me, the biggest news regarding this release is that this library is limited to 1,500 units. That's such big news that we have to have that on screen. 1,500 units. And the way that I see this is that once those 1,500 units are sold, there has to be a follow-up unit that is ever so slightly different to this one. How it'll be different, I don't know. But my best guess is that the hardware unit will be the same, but the collection of amps and effects and other things will be different. This Guitar Essentials version has been labelled as a library curated by Sweetwater and Andertons. Next, we might see a version with different amps and effects selected by Thomann and Guitar Center, or me and Ryan Burke, which is a terribly fun idea and would contain 1 billion fuzzes and 1 trillion springy, splashy reverbs. And 1 amp. 2 amps. 2 Princetons. Yes, I watch your channel, Ryan. I don't. I do. I see your thumbnails. Does that count? Now, let's look at the reality here. The guitar modeling market is an absolute bloodbath right now. You can get stuff from under 100 notes to literally thousands of notes. And this is competing directly against established giants, and that is a massive uphill battle. But Darkglass do have an incredible reputation for pristine audio conversion and rugged build quality and a highly distinct industrial design. If they can bring that signature tight, aggressive harmonic grit that they perfected on bass over to the guitar realm, this could be a major threat. And speaking of threats, the biggest hurdle here is the price. The Darkglass Anagram Guitar Essentials is coming in at around 1,000 to 1,300 notes. And because it is Sweetwater and Anderton's exclusive, it is not easily available outside of the UK and the USA. And this is what makes me think that a second, more European or Canadian version will be coming pretty soon. Darkglass are definitely focusing on quality rather than quantity here, and I really need to try this out to see what all the fuss is about. Good news, that process is already underway. Until I've played it, the gasometer for the Anagram Guitar Essentials reaches add to cart. Links in the video description. How about we take a little break from the new gear and talk about how you can save some money on stuff that is still very gas-inducing at the Thomann Music Days summer sale. Thomann Music Days are back to help you save money on gear that gives you gas. And in the next minute or so, I'm going to show you some of the best deals they have. Firstly, click the link in the video description. It will take you to this page, and then scroll down a little bit, go to categories, click guitars and basses, and it will show you 351 products. And the first thing that comes to mind, or to my eye, is this Sheeran Looper's Looper Plus. This is the exact looper that I use in all my videos. It is my favorite looper. It's got the best foot switches you can buy, and it's currently got 13% off. If you want to loop properly, get one of these. Scrolling down a bit, there's the Boss Katana 100 Generation 3, one of the best amps you can buy, and there's a giveaway, meaning you get a free dust cover with that, which is worth about 25 euros. Let's keep scrolling. I'm actually going to sort this by price, so let's go low to high and see what is the cheapest stuff available. There's a vintage overdrive, which is definitely a tube screamer, for under 11 euros. Even if that's rubbish, it could get you out of a tight spot at some point. I think the next great deal is the Veiltone GP5, 14% off at 66 euros. That's a no-brainer. Just go and click that. Go and get that now. Just underneath that is the Hughes & Kettner Stompman. If you're running an 8-ohm cab, that is a 25-watt amplifier, and it's not the best all-in-one thing you can buy, but for 68 euros, that is great to throw in a gig bag and just go and play somewhere or have it as a backup. That's phenomenal. Let's find at least one guitar that's awesome. There, the Harley Benton ST62 Deluxe. It's already fairly cheap at 177 euros. It's down to 148. These are great guitars, generally speaking. Now, I could keep scrolling, discussing more gear with you, but you know, time is money. So I've put a special link in the video description that not only links you to this page, but also links you to my gear recommendations for the Thomann Music Days sale. So click one of those links, or maybe both, and see how much money you can save on some good stuff. Thank you, Thomann, for sponsoring this. Let's get back to the gear for this week. Down in Athens, Greece, the boutique builders at Crazy Tube Circuits have shrunk their signature mechanical spring blueprint down into what is arguably the smallest fully analog real spring reverb and vintage tremolo pedal on the market right now. This is the brand new Crazy Tube Circuits White Whale Junior, and I have it here. It measures a compact about 15 centimeters by 8 centimeters, meaning it will actually slot onto a pedal board. It's just a bit bigger than a regular pedal, and it will go alongside your standard overdrives. They didn't compromise or cheat with digital modeling emulation. Inside this Arctic white enclosure sits a genuine physical 3-spring mechanical reverb tank assembly. Oh, there it is. To make it perform with proper vintage realism, they integrated a dedicated internal analog power amp reverb driver, and that pushes the physical springs with simulated tube power amp and output transformer saturation, meaning you can make this thing drive. I actually reviewed this pedal this week, and you can watch it by clicking the link up there, but here's a clip. The controls are simple on this, and they're split across two independent sections running clickless relay-based true bypass switches. On the reverb side, you get dwell, and which dictates the or how aggressively you can drive that power amp into the spring tank, alongside tone and mix and a master reverb volume pot. Then if you skip over to the tremolo section on this side, you get an analog amp-style tremolo inspired by vintage optical and bias circuits, giving you everything from soft, gentle 1960s pulse modulations to deep, heavy throb, but not quite helicopter. And that uses speed, intensity, and again, volume adjustments. The back panel keeps things modern with top-mounted jacks, and it runs on a standard 9-volt DC center negative power supply, which pulls a maximum current consumption of 110 milliamps. It also features a power-up bypass preset function, which is cool if you want to always turn on your board with always reverb on or always off or always tremolo on or always off. I dig that integration. It is quite simply a fantastic pedal that brings real springs to a manageable pedal size. And I must say, although I do prefer the White Whale version 2, which is a lot bigger but has more functionality, if pedal board space is tight, the White Whale Junior more than satisfies the needs of real spring reverb users. The tremolo in this and that tends to get a little bit pushed backwards, and I feel that's unfair. This box is simply full of Fender-y volume modulation and springiness. The White Whale V2, the blue one, took my Strymon Flint off my board, and I never thought that would happen. And this junior version, hello, deserves to replace any digital spring reverb. I think it's superb. It lands globally right now at around 300 notes, which is not a small amount. But if you do need a pedal that does what this does, there is no other pedal that will do it better. There is an unmistakable dynamic bounce and splash and literal physical drip that you can seemingly only achieve when you're hitting metal wires with audio signal. And having a genuine 3-spring tank and a vintage tremolo packed into a standard compact house, well, slightly bigger than a standard compact housing, for under 300 notes is a major manufacturing triumph. The gasometer easily skips right up to a highly enthusiastic buy it now. Next up, we are stepping right back into the late 1970s to revisit an offset cult classic that was maybe too far ahead of its time. Guild has chosen the absolute perfect moment to bring back this angular double cutaway out of hibernation. This is the brand new Guild S300 Deluxe, landing within their vintage-inspired Newark Street collection. Newark Street or Newark Saint? It's got to be Newark Street. The core architecture here is wonderfully weird. You get a solid mahogany body paired with a mahogany neck, which is set and carved into a, wait for it, highly comfortable vintage soft U profile. Oh boy. A proper neck on a weird looking guitar. Merry Chrysler to me. Actually, during the research for this show, I popped over to the Guild YouTube page only to find this comment. Cheers, Bri. And no, Guild have not yet been in contact. Sad face. So maybe it's rubbish, I don't know. Back to the guitar. Up top sits that massive vintage-style headstock dressed up with a Perloid Guild Peak logo and that Chesterfield inlay to give it the premium deluxe designation. Guild loaded this version with a beautifully bound Indian rosewood fingerboard carrying 24 narrow jumbo frets and sharp, sharp, sharp Perloid block inlays. Oof! The scale length of this sits at a very Gibson-esque familiar 24 3/4 inches. The electronics consist of a pair of newly voiced Guild HB2 Plus humbucking pickups, and these are packed with Alnico 5 magnets and finished with their classic dual rail nickel covers that look pretty classy. These are wound slightly hotter than your standard HB2s from Guild. You also get independent volume and tone controls per pickup using vintage top hat knobs, which are not just bog standard, they are Guild ones. There's a standard 3-way toggle switcher, and the hidden weapon of the entire layout, which is not hidden, it's just really small, a mini toggle phase switch. And flipping that mini toggle sort of throws the humbuckers out of phase with each other, and that unlocks that palette of bright, hollow, delightfully jangly textures that should cut through in a mix. The hardware configuration is rock solid vintage looking. Grover G2 open gear tuner machines up top, a Guild Ultimate Angle Tunematic bridge down at the bottom, and a matching compensated stop bar tailpiece. It comes in 2 colours, deep Neptune blue metallic, or a rather clean vintage sterling metallic, but the blue one is where it's at, I think. I think Victor, the editor, will also be in agreement on that. This lands at around 700 to 800 notes. It's not budget, it's not expensive, it's upper mid-range, and the S300 Deluxe feels like a wonderful palette cleaner in a world full of S, T, and LP style guitars where everybody's arguing. It looks like an overachieving Epiphone employee snuck into the factory under the cover of darkness and combined a Hofner with a Yamaha SGV and gave it someone in the Squier finishing department and told them to take extra time and extra care and spend a little bit more money. Unsurprisingly, I love the way this looks. I think it looks absolutely phenomenal. If you are a player who is completely bored of what's on offer at the moment, this thing is an absolute triumph. It looks weird, but it kind of looks comfortable, and that out of phase switch gives you a massive studio routing trick right at your fingertips. It does feel, however, that Guild's marketing department doesn't quite know what to do with it, so I hope this doesn't go unnoticed. The gasometer easily leaps right up to a highly enthusiastic wallet on fire. This is my jam.
Andy's Pick of the Week.
And finally, we have arrived at my pick of the week. I was not expecting this, to be honest. I thought it was going to be the Guild. But in writing the show, yeah. For the first time in their modern catalogue, the Nashville Custom Shop has taken their absolute flagship model and giving it the full Fender-style structural spin. It's going to upset some, excite a few, and be purchased by, well, who knows? This is the brand new Gibson Custom Les Paul Custom Long Scale. It's a long name. It's almost Fender-like. Yes, someone at Gibson said, you know how our Les Pauls are really heavy? I have an idea. Let's make them heavier. Now, for generations, a standard Les Paul has always run on a shorter 24 3/4 inch scale length. That is the distance from here to here. But the long scale version replaces that entirely with a full 25.5 inch setup, the exact length you'd find on a Strat or a Telecaster. That extra 3/4 of an inch completely transforms how the instrument behaves under your fingers. It increases the string tension across the board, which injects 2 massive benefits for modern players. First, it gives you a faster, snappier picking attack. Second, it provides more stability for drop tunings. So if you like tuning down to drop D or C or lower, the extra neck length keeps the strings taut so they don't turn into floppy spaghetti or lose their intonation. The rest of the build retains Gibson Custom Shop appointments. You get a 1-piece mahogany body capped with a 2-piece plain maple top, and they're using their engineered 9-hole weight relief system inside the mahogany to save your shoulder. The mahogany neck features a long tenon joint, gluing it deep, so deep, into the body cavity, and it is carved to a modern medium C profile. It's a bit thicker than yeah. It really does feel quite Fendery. I thought I was talking about Fender for a moment. Yes, please. And did I mention? Thank you. You get a bound 12-inch radius ebony fretboard carrying 22 medium jumbo frets, genuine mother-of-pearl block inlays, gold-plated hardware, a multi-ply bound headstock, and that prestigious split diamond inlay. Under the hood, it is driven by a classic humbucker pairing, the 490R at the neck, and a hotter 498T at the bridge, both finished with those gold-plated covers. It's hand-wired to CTS pots and a Switchcraft 3-way toggle. Up top, you've got a Corian nut and Grover Rotomatic kidney button tuners. It lands in a classic nitrocellulose ebony finish and ships with a certificate of authenticity. And it is protected inside a proper Gibson custom hardshell case. But here is the absolute kick in the wallet. This custom shop risk taker lands globally at a jaw-dropping almost $6,000. Ouch. Nearly $6,000 is a monumental mountain of cash for any guitar. And this is quite the risk for Gibson. Did they ever ask if anyone wanted a Les Paul with a Strat scale length? Did they know that keeping it to 22 frets is going to make this feel pretty weird for regular Gibson customers? Did they? Do they? Will they? Now, due to the price and the oddness of this coming from Gibson Custom Shop, I think it's going to stay a wow, look at that piece for most players. But, and hear me out on this, imagine this on an Epiphone. Don't put Gibson pickups in it, don't include a hard case, just give us a normal Epiphone Les Paul Custom with a longer scale length and keep it under 1,000 notes, and it will be very popular for people that down tune, or SG players like me that like to have that neck over there a bit further, or even Fender players that want something different. I could be wrong. This could ruin what Les Paul lovers love about Les Pauls, but I think it's interesting, and I have to give it to Gibson for trying something genuinely new. I would love to know what you think in the comments section. The gasometer is completely dissolved. This is an absolute undeniable, my wallet is on fire. I will almost certainly never own one. I probably won't even ever play one because it is a lot of money and I almost certainly do not need it. But boy, oh boy, do I absolutely want one. And I feel hollow inside and less of a man because I don't own one. And that, my friend, is the very definition of gear acquisition syndrome. Chasing that ever-elusive dragon. Links are in the video description. Once again, here is the QR code to scan if you want to find all the gear from this episode at one of my retail partners, but as always, clickable links are also in the video description. These are the people that made this show possible. Thank you for the continued support of The Week in Gear, everybody. I really enjoy your messages telling me that this show is a must-watch every week, and thank you to those people for expressing that joy by supporting the show via Patreon and right here on YouTube. If you want to do the same, links are down there. And now, a special shout out to the top tier supporting members. Here we go. Antonio Cruz Barreto, Buddha Blue, Boom Shakalaka, Buzzle, Chris Kelly, Craig's Fist, Darth Bagel, David Meyer, Dirk, Doug Paget, Fuzz Onkel, Yindrik Strelka, Johnny McBadminton, Kultur Pop, Mike CQB 241, Mike Lute, Andrew Morgan, Craig Verbuh, Darius Lives, Gary O'Neill, Josh Tanberg, Man, Dude, Bro, Fat Raptor, PQ Deads, Sarung Narayan, Sanya Chen, Sarah Marie, Searching for Tone, Southern Panda 33, Thunderbird Calls, TWIG is Inconceivable Brilliant Good Show Man. Thank you, top tier members. After all that, I hope your gas is not out of control. Let me know your pick of the week and use the word summer in the comments to show me and the world that you watched until the end. And until next time, keep it geeky. Bye-bye!